This is the Hubba Dubno. It's a bubblegum sparkle dun based on Craig Mathew's sparkle dun, created by Peter Dubno, and we're going to learn how to tie it. So grab a cup of chill as we sit back and go on the Vise with the FlyOlderGuy. On the Vise, we have a size 16 dry fly hook, and I'm going to load up the bobbin with some UTC pink in the 8/0. The 8/0's good for this because we do have to lock down Comparadun hair, and it wants to flail and spin around. So we'll start that thread right behind the hook eye, trim it off, and what I like to do is build up a nice little base because of that hair wanting to spin. The more thread you have, the more it has something to grip onto. So we build it up to the front and then back again, about, like a 3/4 of the way up is where I like to leave it. Here's this Comparadun, nice short hairs. I don't want to take too much, a decent sized clump. Trim it off, and then we're going to pull out all the little fuzzies, all the uneven hairs, and the broken tips, and anything should come out here before we put it in the stacker. I'll grab the stacker, load them in. This is just to even up the tips. You don't even have to go this crazy. You could do it by hand. That's how Peter Dubno does it in his video. You can look up the Bubblegum done. I'll leave a link in the description too. So we've got all the tips lined up, and then we're going to tie them in. It's a little less than a hook shank. So line them up a little bit less than the hook shank, and you want to give it a couple loose wraps. 2 loose wraps, and then you start to pull it tight, and you'll see they'll start to flail up. I give it 1 or 2 wraps towards the back, and it spun for me, but I'm going to pull the front back and then put some wraps like a little dam in the front to try to keep it from spinning. So give those a few wraps, even out the hairs again, go back over, try to build a little bit back. I don't want it to slip. We can grab the back section and maybe a couple of other hairs and trim that off, spin them around, give them a little haircut. Looking pretty good. And we'll wrap the thread back, try to lock that in a little bit more, and then advance the thread up to the front. Couple more wraps in the front, and then we're going to leave it right there and grab some of our sparkly yarn. It's like an emerger yarn. I'm using like a tan. It's a goldish tan. What we're making is a trailing shuck. Not so much of a tail, it's a trailing shuck. And some of the sparkle is going to also go into the wing. So you cut off a strand of that, even out the tips. Looks pretty good. And then we're going to just put it right up against the wing. Lock it in, try to even it out with the wing. And then we'll wrap back, and we can build up a nice little taper. Gives us a little bit of a body already on the fly. I like to go all the way back to the bend. That way we know we have a good start to our dubbing. So I'm going to trim off this little bit of yarn. Like I said, you want it short. It's like a shuck. I'm just going to trim off a couple of those loose hairs that my thumb is blocking us there. But there we go. Looking pretty good. Now we're going to grab some bubblegum colored. It's a pink colored dubbing. I've mixed it with a little bit of white rabbit zonker to give it that real pink Hubba Bubba bubblegum look. You might have to do it. It's hard to find a real bubblegum colored pink dubbing now. So I start off with a little bit, and I don't like to put too much on at a time. You can see I'm starting it as far back as I can to that shuck, and then tightening as I go. The dubbing gets a little bit loose because I have mixed it with some white rabbit zonker fur, as I said. So we get it almost up to the wing, and I'll add a little bit more dubbing, just a little bit at a time. It's probably the best way to do it. Too much is too much, you know. So it's easier to add more than it is to take it off. So this one goes up, right up to the wing, and then I'm going to pull the wing back, put one wrap in the front to kind of build it up, one in the back to cover up the bottom portion of the fly, and just a little bit more dubbing to build up a nice head on the fly. So just a touch. Again, you know what? Less is, usually the best when it comes to dubbing. Just a little less than you think is necessary. So we build up a nice little head here. And it also helps to prop up the wing. You see how the wing is nicely propped up also. Few quick wraps around right behind the eye. It's looking pretty good. We'll grab our whip finish tool. And Peter Dubno does a 6-turn whip finish. So when it comes to this fly, I always like to give it a 6-turn whip finish. It's tradition. So we give it 6 turns. Going to trim off the thread. And this dubbing, you can see it's a little bit shaggy. It's not too bad, but when you brush it, it gets a little bit shaggy. So we push the wing down. Look at the profile, it's really nice. But the shaggy dubbing, give them a little trim on the shaggy dubbing. Shaggy dubbing, little trim. Makes it look nice. Look at that. Now it's got a little bit more of a sleek profile. It's looking really good. Really good. So that is the Hubba Dubno. Peter Dubno's version of Craig Mathews' FlyOlderGuy. So I hope you guys enjoyed the tie. And we'll see you in the next one. Stay fly.